name's Dana and I'm setting up for a skull series right now. So I already have a 10 by 12 in the Bucky, and the first image I'm going to take is the PA axial, the Caldwell method. So I'm going to detent my tube and I'm going to put a 15-degree cauded angle on it. Detenting, and I'll be at 40 inches. Line it up. Hi, Tori.
Hi.
Hi, can I just confirm your first and last name
Yeah, Tori Gray,
and your date of birth?
04/23/1991.
Awesome. And is there any chance you could be pregnant?
Nope.
Okay. Why are we doing this exam of your skull today?
I actually fell down off my bike and I hit my head and I have a huge bump right here, so I think it's been hurting me and we want to check it out.
Okay, sounds good. I'm just going to have you remove any jewelry, like earrings, doesn't
Okay.
look like you're wearing any, and have you take out your ponytail.
Okay.
My patient's already changed into a gown. Right now I'm positioning for the PA axial, and I'm going to make sure that my patient's orbitomeatal line, the OML, and the mid-sagittal plane are going to be perpendicular to the IR. And I'm going to line this up so that the central ray is going to exit the nasion at a 15-degree cauded angle. Going to make sure she's centered. And I'm going to grab her a shield. Now my patient is shielded, and I'm going to set my console to shoot this at 85 at 8. Now I'm ready for my lateral, so I have my patient in a right lateral, only so you can see her beautiful face. And it's still at 40 inches, but now the beam is perpendicular. And I'm going to line it up 2 inches superior to the EAM. So I'm going to lower this, and now my IR is in, it's still a 10 by 12, but it's in crosswise now. So 2 inches superior to the EAM. And I'm going to collimate down. And for this one, I want the mid-sagittal plane and the IOML to be parallel to the IR. And I want the interpupillary line to be perpendicular. And to get the IOML parallel, I'm going to need to tilt her head down a little bit. I'm going to set my console to 85 at 6. Alright, now I'm ready to do the AP axial, which is the Townes method, and I'm still at 40 inches. I am going to be at a 30-degree cauded angle because the CR is going to go through the foramen magnum and enter 2.5 inches above the glabella. And I'm centering so that the OML is going to be perpendicular to the IR. So I'm going to have her tilt her chin down as much as she can. And I have my 30-degree angle on the tube. Two and a half inches above the glabella. And now my IR is in lengthwise again, and it's a 10 by 12 still. And I'm going to shoot this at 85 at 10. Now to look at the SMV, and this is the Schuler method. How do you say that? Schuler. I am going to have my patient come forward a little bit and then lean back. far as she can with her head. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that I can get her IOML parallel to the IR, and her mid-sagittal plane is going to be perpendicular to the IR. And I'm going to lower this down. It's perpendicular again, so that the central ray is entering between the mandibular angles and passing through a point 3/4 of an inch superior and anterior to the EAM. So there's the EAM, and there's midway between the mandibular angles. Okay, and I can collimate down a little bit. And I'm gonna do this at 85 at 28. This is the lateral view of the skull. It shows the sella turcica, the anterior clinoid processes, the posterior clinoid processes, and the dorsum sellae. We know there's no rotation because the orbital roofs and greater wings of the sphenoid are superimposed, as well as the mastoid regions and the EAM. The TMJs are also superimposed, and the sella turcica is in profile. There's no overlap of the cervical spine by the mandible, which is good. This is the PA axial skull, the Caldwell method, and we know it's a good image because it shows the entire cranial perimeter, and it demonstrates the Petrus pyramids lying in the lower third of the orbits. There's no rotation, which we can see by the equal distances from the lateral borders of the skull to the lateral borders of the orbits on both sides, and the Petrus ridges are symmetric, and the mid-sagittal plane of the cranium is aligned with the long axis of the collimated field. This is the AP axial skull, the Townes method, and it shows the occipital bone, Petrus pyramids, and foramen magnum, with the dorsum sellae and posterior clinoids visualized in the shadow of the foramen magnum. We know there's no rotation because of the equal distances between the lateral borders of the skull to the lateral margins of the foramen magnum on each side, and the symmetric Petrus pyramids. The mid-sagittal plane of the cranium is aligned with the long axis of the collimated field. This is the SMV projection of the skull, the Schuler method, and we see the foramen ovale and spinosum, the mandible, the sphenoid and posterior ethmoid sinuses, the mastoid processes, Petrus ridges, hard palate, foramen magnum, and occipital bone. We know that the neck was extended properly and the IOML was parallel with the IR because the mandibular condyles are projected anterior to the Petrus pyramids, and the frontal bone and mandibular symphysis is superimposed. The mandibular condyles should be parallel to each other, which means there's no rotation in this image, and there should be equal distance from the mandibular condyles to the lateral border of the skull.